Hello, and welcome to the video to develop a ground mount system with 10 columns of 4 Canadian Solar 255 watt panels in the IronRidge configurator. So, right here it gives you the specs for the project, and now we're going into the IronRidge configurator. It's a ground mount, so we'll go ground mount, design assistant, and from here we start entering our specs. So, sample ground mount, and the manufacturer is Canadian Solar, and we need the CS6P 255 poly module. And the subarray configuration. The IronRidge ground mount works best with 4 panels in landscape, 4 rows of panels in landscape. You can also do 3, but it's less efficient, and you can also do 5, but I believe that it's also less efficient as well. So the configurator will do 3 or 4, but it is possible to do custom projects with 5 panels in landscape. Although I believe the most economically effective way to do it is 4. So we're going to do 4 and 10 columns. So 4 times 10, 4 rows of 10 columns. It's going to be 40 panels, and repeats, only 1 repeat. So if it was a larger array that had multiple sub-arrays that were made up of 4 rows of 10 columns, then we could easily do a repeat here. So if you make the change and then press the tab button, then the changes will come up here. So before we had 40 panels, and now we have 80, and it also increases the pipe amount and the piers and the wattage and everything else correspondingly. But let's go back and just have one subarray of 4 by 10, and keep going. The next page, zip code is going to be lovely Lawrence, Kansas 66044. It'll give you the wind speed and the ground snow load automatically, 90 miles per hour and 20 PSF for Lawrence, Kansas. Wind exposure is, well, urban and suburban areas, wooded areas, or other terrain with numerously closely spaced obstructions. In this case, we always want to be very conservative. This is a fairly suburban / as urban as small towns in Kansas get. So it probably would be B, but I'm just going to be very safe. And it is somewhat open terrain. There are trees and other buildings around it, so it's probably going to be B, but just because there's any ambiguity, I'm going to go ahead and do C. But in this case, I would actually probably confirm with the installer what they wanted the exposure level to be. This is going to affect the number of piers that you need to have, and obviously the lower amount of piers is preferred, but we definitely want to be very conservative. And so yeah, so in this case I'm going to go with C, but I could probably follow up with the installer and say, do you believe this is a B or a C? And if they say B, then the liability is on them, and try to you might want to I haven't had anything like that come up where it's come down to that, but it's always nice to get that in writing from the installer if you can. If they say no, it's B, so we can go with the lower amount of piers, then it's good to have that in writing and have liability on the installer rather than you shoulder that. So if you do need to shoulder that, then be very conservative and go with the more conservative exposure. In this case, being the exposure sheets. We definitely don't need to go D. It's not a unbroken ice or salt flat or any of the other categorizations of D. So C should be good. And let's see how it increases the number of piers. So right here now we have 10 piers for this relatively small ground mount, and then let's go to C, and that's going to increase it to nothing. It doesn't increase it at all. So I think it did increase the amount of pipe we needed, 7 feet more pipe, but that's a fairly nominal increase in cost. So very nice that it doesn't increase the number of piers. But if we did D, let's see, that's probably going to increase it to 12. Yeah, but C is unnecessary, or D is unnecessary. Let's go with C. Pipe size, it's always more economical to go with the larger pipe size. It dramatically increases the piers to 26.